So we're looking at 8:13 here in a couple of minutes. We're going to be talking with Dan the Beast Severn.
The Beast.
Yeah, baby. And oh yes, we'll make mention of that as well. I'm sure. I just got a message on Facebook, and I want to make mention of something else here in a little bit. But right now, I want to talk about Feast with the Fighters coming up Saturday, July 19th, down in Champaign at the Fluid Event Center. As we mentioned earlier, this is going to feature a meet and greet dinner with MMA greats Mark Coleman, Dan Severn, Ken Shamrock, Spencer Fisher, Kenny Robertson, the creator of the UFC, Art Davie, a fabulous plated dinner created by PATINO Diet. And there's 3 different dinners you can choose from. And I got to tell you guys, PATINO Diet is the shit. Dr. Frank Patino has it down to a science, and that's what the diet's all about, the science. But enough about that. Check out PATINODiet.com if you want more information on that. It's all about the glycemic index. It's really kick-ass. But besides the meet and greet dinner, there will also be awards given away to Illinois fighters and gyms, recognizing their accomplishments. There's even you can buy regular tickets. The regular tickets for the dinner, the meet and greet, and all are $80. There are VIP tickets, which get you an exclusive meet and greet prior to the dinner, which is a private meeting with everybody where you'll have a chance to take photos. You get signed stuff. I believe those tickets go for $150. Let me just hit this tribute dinner. I got to find this just to make sure I'm not misquoting it. But even the seminars, I mentioned this, the seminars earlier. The seminar tickets are only $35, and yeah, the VIP tickets are $150, which it's called the Diamond Package. It gets you a private room before the dinner, take photos with all 5 greats, which you'll never have that opportunity. You get a pair of autographed gloves by all 5 superstars. Dinner served to your table first, so you get to throw down on the feast first. And, of course, the hanging out with the fighters before the event and getting that exclusive one-on-one time, it's what makes it worth it. And really, hell, there are only 24 tickets available, so if you want the VIP, you better get them quick because I'm sure they're pretty close to being gone. But
that's the way to go right there. If you want access to everything and, the memorabilia and the meet and greet with the fighters, that's definitely the way to go.
Hell yeah, and without delay, I'm going to get the phone ringing and get the Beast on the horn. We'll also talk with Dan about his career because that's what the dinner banquet's about, is honoring these legends of MMA. Sure, they're going to be showing some fights, and hell, you never know what you're going to get into when you get on the horn with the Beast. Oh goodness. Well, hi Dan, it's Big Perm. How are you?
What's happening, Big Perm?
Oh man, I'm just sitting here chilling. I got my co-host Vic Nasty riding with me.
Vic Nasty. You got the Big Perm and Vic Nasty. What a duel.
I'm telling you, what a combination.
It's almost like, I hate to say this, but a chick would hate to get a nasty perm right now.
That's the truth. She'll get one around here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry, but maybe I'm a little eclectic here. What way I kind of put together some unusual combinations.
Oh yes. So Dan, where are we catching you at tonight, man?
I am in Coldwater, Michigan here this evening.
So you're home?
Yeah. I'm here. I'm enjoying some humidity here this evening.
Well, down here in Peoria, Illinois, it's definitely been humid as hell. We got some thunderstorms rolling through tonight, which has cooled it off and made it nice. And Vic and I are sitting here talking to the Beast, UFC Hall of Famer, the only Triple Crown champion. And so we're excited to talk to you about your career, and wanted to first kick things off and talk to you about the Feast with the Fighters event coming up July 19th down in Champaign, Illinois. You're gonna be bringing your happy ass down here and visiting with us folks here in the Midwest.
You bet. I think that I think Chris was the gentleman that was putting together all of the basic details, and I think we have 3 or 4 different former UFC veterans. So we'll be there to do a little Q&A, pictures, autographs, and as I said, the same, just come feast with the Beast. Do those,
Well, Dan, I wanted to ask you, at an event like this, getting together with Mark Coleman, Ken Shamrock, yourself, the original creator, Art Davey. What's it mean to you to get together with these pioneers of the sport and be honored, in the way that you are?
Oh, I mean, anytime. I mean, even specifically to put into the classification of UFC Hall of Fame on that. I mean, it's when that was first bestowed, you can't help but be. I mean, you're honored. You are being selected for something. I mean, it's really special. I did not go into it thinking that would happen. In fact, when I started my career, I only planned on doing one event because I did not know. On paper, I was thinking, well, it should kind of go like this, but in an actual combative match, such as the no holds barred of the UFC, it was a whole different animal there. So it didn't get exactly that the outcome was going to be the results that been hoped for.
Well, to go from the aspirations of a career that only had one fight to a career that has over 100 wins, let alone more than 100 fights, obviously you found a niche, my man, and you did quite well at it.
Well, I'll simply say that chapter, I'm actually in the process of putting together a book. I've actually been putting together for a number of years, but I actually have a group that represents me now, and I think it should come to take place here probably sometime in the course of 2015. I believe it should probably start to come on out. And that was one chapter. It's entitled Newfound Skills, because honestly, there are guys. I have never been in a fight in my entire life. Competition, yes, I've been in competition. And, even like the ring name, The Beast, that I didn't make that up. That was to be bestowed upon me by the legendary football player Jim Brown, as he was one of the play-by-play commentators there for, probably 3, 4, maybe 5 different events early on in the UFC's career.
Yeah, I remember that. Jim Brown and Brian, of all people, Brian Kilmeade from Fox News. I was watching some old footage, and I was like, that's Brian from Fox News. I kind of get a chuckle out of that nowadays. But Mr. Brown, yeah, he was there cage side for the first few events, and to have a guy like that give you a nickname, I mean, that's just freaking awesome, man.
Oh, yeah, I could say it's probably one of the best endorsements you'll ever have.
Absolutely. Well, Vic, I wanted to throw it over to you, homeboy. I know you're chomping at the bit.
Well, Dan,
Mr. Nasty, lay it on me.
You got to watch how you ask that, Dan.
What's that?
I said you got to watch when you ask somebody named Nasty to lay it down on you.
We're long distance here right now. I feel rather safe here, okay?
I didn't know to reach out and touch him. But anyway, Dan, what I was trying to get at is, after all said and done, after what accolades you've had in your career, any paydays you might have had, anything like that, what's the one thing you're going to take away, from your life and, combat sports?
Well, I mean, honestly, the thing that I think that, and it's going to continue, having the credentials and being able to show old footage of matches, things of that nature, that people will recognize things for what you have done. But once people have seen that aspect and then they actually meet me and speak to me, they really, I've had most people say it's a very pleasant surprise. They did not, I'm almost like a contradiction of what I represent. If you only ever knew of me, of what I did inside the cage, people would think of me as just one type of person. But after they've had a chance to actually meet me and then speak to me, they're like, you're not at all what I thought you would have been like. And that's, and they say it's rather refreshing to know that you can speak to someone and actually have an intellectual conversation with a thought process.
Because you don't want to think you're just the Beast.
Well, exactly. Even the ring name The Beast has a lot of negative connotations, and I'm thinking anyone that really knows me knows I'm probably the furthest thing from that. I'm a fierce competitor. Yes, have been that my entire life in the world of amateur wrestling. And so to take something like The Beast, I change it around into something positive. The word "the" stands for Dan Severn. I'm a teacher, humanitarian, and I'm an educator. My message to young people is beast, to believe in themselves, to adjust their everyday attitude, to study hard, and then to teach others. So,
hell yeah.
Took a negative and turned it into the positive.
Well, Dan, and that's kind of a nice segue to my next question. Since you've retired from MMA fighting, I know you kind of kept yourself busy with some grappling matches and whatnot, but you're also a coach and a speaker, and you do seminars to keep yourself busy. What do you got coming up besides the Feast with the Fighters event?
Well, I mean, I think even prior to the event and probably immediately afterwards, I'll be doing, again, just like you said, just different types of appearances and seminars. I'll say that probably preoccupies a great deal of my time. My seminars, they range from anything from amateur wrestling, a little bit of Greco-Roman wrestling, a little bit of freestyle wrestling, which are two international styles. Folk style is what we do here inside of the United States. We're the only country that has folk style. All the rest of the countries should be abide by either freestyle or your Greco-Roman rules. And then I've been doing things with law enforcement since 94, corrections since 95. And, it's submission grappling. Let's say I live a very active lifestyle. It's sometimes I wake up in the morning and I have to look at my planner just to realize, what is my function today?
What do I got to do today?
Yep.
Well, Dan, I know
but
you got a seminar coming up in July.
Life has been quite a journey there for me, and it will continue to do so. Especially, I think I'm starting to move more and more into more and more speaking engagements, and that's probably the thing I enjoy the most. Is that I receive a lot of either Facebook postings, emails that will come into my website, things of that nature, where they simply say that you have inspired me, and not to go climb into a cage, but simply to do something with myself because I have defied so many rules in terms of breaking age barriers and doing things way beyond the realm of things. To start a cage fighting career back in '94, just before turning 37 years of age, to have gone as long as what I did, go to have the success that I had. I can claim lifetime chemical-free status, and being that teacher, I actually have a degree from Arizona State. I've been teaching the sport of amateur wrestling since 1971, and so I was a teacher way before ever even getting a certifiable degree in teaching.
Well, and Dan, I know the last time that you and I talked, you were involved with Global Proving Grounds, and I know later in July you've got a seminar coming up with another legend, the Black Dragon himself, Ron Van Cleef. And I wanted to know how things with Global Proving Grounds were going, and Warrior Island. How's that been?
Well, the Warrior Island, I'll just say, is still in the developmental stages. It's a great concept. A lot of it just boils down to is just getting things financed. But there are times when you turn on the television, reality TV programs are all over the place. When I see certain things like Honey Boo Boo, and then there's Naked and Afraid, and a few of these other shows that I really think that you could probably lose IQ points if you watch it just a little too long. It amazes me that something like the Global Proving Grounds has not been able to secure the right type of backing and to put these type of programs together. But I think it will happen. Eventually. Keyword there is eventually.
Well, everything's got to happen eventually.
As for doing a seminar with Ron Van Cleef, I'm honored and privileged to do that. I think a great deal of Ron, our history goes all the way back to 1994, UFC number 4. We were both on the UFC number 5. UFC. Yes, exactly. UFC number 4. I'm sorry, and it was kind of funny because all the other fighters showed up in like tank tops, muscle guards, sleeveless shirts, and Ron and myself were the only two guys that showed up in sports jackets and ties. And we sat
in the profiling.
And we sat beside each other, and it was kind of funny because the previous couple of days, I had El Snow from the world of professional wrestling. He was with me, a friend and a training partner, and I had him as my corner person. And Al was wearing all the tank tops, the muscle guards. So literally, all the other fighters at fight camps thought that El Snow was me because he's wearing all that garb, and here I am walking around checking the tie, and they just thought maybe I was his agent until the day of the actual press conference / where they simply just used an old bingo ball type of machine and twirled it, and basically you finally found out who your first opponent was the night before the 8-man tournament. And that's what I think a lot of your listeners need to continue to be educated that what they watch today, mixed martial arts, has approximately 37 rules. There's weight classes, time periods, athletes wear gloves, and they fight a single opponent in a night. Well, back when Ron and I were doing this in 1994, it was known as the no-holds-barred era, and the only two rules that you had to abide by was strictly do not bite your opponent and do not stick fingers in their eye sockets, so no eye gouging, and that was it. Anything else your imagination can think of, you were good to go. No weight classes, no time periods, bare-knuckled, and it had an 8-man tournament. So in a course of a 2-hour pay-per-view, you had to face and defeat 3 opponents. And that was grueling, but you could make a star in one night because you might go in there as an unknown. You win your first match, okay? Yeah, you won. But when they see you in that cage that second time and you're ready to throw down, people like going, wow, and you got a little bit of a maybe a little crustation of blood over on the crook of your eyebrow or something like that, and you might have a little bit of an egg or something in nature. But yet you go out, you throw down, and you win. But by that third match here, you look like you've been pulled through an apple backwards.
Right.
You're disarranged, but you're ready to throw down again, and people are going, wow, this is insane to think that you fought 3 people in the course of one night. But it was, when I meet people out and about at the various appearances, things of that nature, they're like, that was like that golden arrow. It was like the wild, wild west, and they really enjoyed that, but had that continued. You had Senator John McCain, and that was really.
Oh yeah, he was really
against the no holds barred, and so the UFC between the 3 different ownerships had to make concessions. Otherwise, we would be talking about this in the past tense. It's all gone.
Well, and Dan, that's kind of was my next question. The evolution of the sport that we've seen in the last 20 years. As you said, concessions have been made to allow for pay-per-view airing, to get it on regular cable TV. In the next 20 years, where do you see the evolution going? Do you see it more towards a team concept, or I know Bellator just did away with their tournament format. At least that's what I'm hearing. Do you see it going like more the way of the tournament and the team, or where do you see the evolution going to?
Those are, I think, some great speculations onto it. You did have the IFL that had the team concept that was going. Maybe the UFC could make something like that work. I think that you'll have more. What I would like to see, and I think that a lot of other people like to see, you do have so many different organizations. It'd be great to have. Maybe this one time a year, like in football, they have the Super Bowl, and professional wrestling, they have the WrestleMania. Maybe if there was some type of a MMA extravaganza, or now the top, welterweight or the top heavyweight goes against, from Bellator goes against the top, heavyweight there from the UFC versus the King of the Cage versus the Gladiator Challenge. Just to have something really interesting so that now you all these different organizations get some type of recognition, but at the same token, maybe you can see who actually has some of the better fighters, which organization.
It's funny you say that, Dan. It's back in January, I wrote a piece called The Super Series of MMA, and it took the top 8 organizations, and you know, pick any weight class. I just chose lightweight, and once a year have them come together in a tournament format, just like they did in the old school days, 3 fights a night. And with the rules, since there's only 5, since you're only allowed to fight 5 rounds in a night, your quarters and your semis are 2-round fights, and your final is just a 1-round, 5-minute throwdown. And that's where I'd like to see it go as well. I think that format would push the action too, and there wouldn't be much stalling. People would have to get busy.
Well, you definitely would have to be in shape for that one.
No doubt.
The England was in the tournament format. It is a novelty. That would be one of the hardest things to ever get through. Bellator, they would do a tournament format over a course of 3 shows.
Right.
And that actually made sense how they could do that sequence. It was tough on the UFC when they did that in order to have people. You might win your match, but you might break your hand. You might win your match, but maybe you took a pretty good cut over your eye or something like that in the process. So doing the multiple match format, it's just tough. Boy. Plus the overall fact that athletes are so much more well-rounded. When the sport first began, you had a lot of one-dimensional athletes, and I throw myself right in that same category. You had just boxers, just kickboxers, just Muay Thai guys. You had just jiu-jitsu guys, sambo guys, wrestlers, and so people always ask me, well, when did the evolution? I go, well, as of the very first event. When you could be a great striker, but you need to be able to stay on your feet, and you need to have a certain distance in order to work your magic. So when they go up against a grappler, they realize I need survival skills. If this grappler should clinch me or jam me up against this cage wall or take me down, I need survival skills in order to get back up to my feet and things of nature. And the grapplers realize I'm okay if I get the clinch and takedowns and jam up against the cage wall because they're in that close quarter type of combatives. But you
got to get inside to do that.
Exactly. So you need survival skills. So again, what the very first of it, as people watch it, they go, wow, I need this. I need to add this to my repertoire. I need to add this element. So again, it just over the course, you have seen guys that are just phenomenal today because they're so well-rounded. There's no real holes in the arsenal, but I still think that the sport, give it another, say, 3 to 5 years, and you're going to see some even crazier acrobatic type of maneuvers, and you're starting to see some of it take place already where people are using that cage walls where they'll bounce off it and come back with a Superman punch, Superman knee.
Anthony Pettis and Ben Henderson.
They step off it and throw a roundhouse kick to the head. I mean, those are the things.
That was awesome.
I'm almost thinking, again, this is how far-fetched I think it could possibly go, that you are in pursuit of me, and as you chase me across the cage, I run at the cage wall, do a backflip, and slap on like a rear naked choke, and before my feet hit, boom, it's all over. I mean, that's an extreme example, but that just goes to show you where I think that this sport will eventually go, because there's so much content. How are you, or how is your organization going to stand out from any other organization? The UFC gets the most media attention. But
right.
they're great.
Well, let me ask you, Dan, with all that media attention and them having events, once, sometimes twice a week. I mean, they're having events like every week, 4 or 5 of them a month. Do you think they run the risk of oversaturation and people losing interest in the UFC and turning towards Bellator or MFC or ONE FC and some of those others?
Well, but the thing is, they're showing different formats. I mean, the UFC is really pushing to get things going more and more on a worldwide scene. That's why, you might have one event that's taking place here in the U.S., but the other event might be taking place in China, it might be taking place up in Canada, it might be taking place in Mexico. So, I mean, they're bouncing around, trying to, they're making more and more inroads because certain countries. It's just it's a different type of climate than being here in the United States. They're just going to open up a whole lot more doors, and I make more. Well, so I think it's going to make some really phenomenal athletes will be brought back to the United States that other people can be aware of. I mean, honestly, guys, there are some freaks walking this planet right now
that we've never seen.
They'll say, "You pay me how much to fight one man? I give you group discount." But yeah, I saw that even during my amateur wrestling days. I would be traveling to Mongolia, Bulgaria, a lot of the old Eastern Bloc countries. Be it in East Germany and things of that nature. I mean, East Germany's gone. I saw the Berlin Wall, the Iron Curtain. I mean, I was there 3 different times representing the United States on various wrestling teams. So there are, like I said, there are just some freaks of nature that's like, wow, it's incredible. Certain nationalities that they're just, they're like giants of people.
Well, Vic Nasty, I want to throw it back to you, homeboy.
With all these fights going on, and like you said, Dan, they're pushing to put to bring the product up and everything like that. Do you think it's a strain on a relatively new talent pool?
Well, one of the things I think that's interesting about the sport, and I'm not really answering the question here right now, the sheer fact that mixed martial arts, the cage fighting industry, no holds barred, has only been around for 20 to 21 years. And no other sport has grown that quickly. And, the irony of this, that's probably not the right word to use right now. I think one of the things that the UFC and the mixed martial arts cage fighting world can really utilize or capitalize on is the sheer fact that history is still alive. Now think about that. Look at any other sport. Can you go back and talk to the founders of the NFL, of the NBA, the NHL, go on to any pro-level sport? No, they're all gone. The sport has been around that long, but to think that the Hoist Gracies, the Ken Shamrocks, the Mark Colemans, the Dan Severns, we're still here, we're still alive. So literally, you can talk to them, and I think that's something that I don't know. It can be used in great leverage type of ways. And, maybe the first of these is just having when there were a few of us that were back at the 20th anniversary show, and now. This is, I think, the only second thing that I'm aware of were basically, like Ken, Mark, and myself, and others will be in Illinois. So it's a unique thing to be able to talk to some of the pioneers of this sport and to ask them questions like, what was going through your mind other than someone's elbow, fist, or knee,
Right.
So.
Well, and Dan, something that you said earlier that I just love about MMA is the fighters, the athletes, they're all so accessible and willing to talk, unlike NBA and NFL and these other stars that seem rather aloof and almost unreachable. When I met Mark Coleman, I'd only seen him on TV and I'd only seen him in his interviews, and I thought, man, this guy's going to be a prick. And then I met Mark, and, he's hugging me and thanking me for being a fan and just the coolest dude. And same with Ken. I mean, all the guys I've met. And so, again, I want to encourage everybody to come down to the Feast with the Fighters July 19th at Champaign at the Fluid Event Center. Come out and meet the Beast and a slew of other Hall of Famers and legends that are going to be in attendance. It's going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah, the reality is, think about that. You won't get a chance to really get some of the pioneers and actually to get pictures, autographs with, and just to ask a question. And again, a lot of the younger people, they may have to go and check on YouTube just to know exactly who we are, because the United States really is the only country I'm aware of that is a very yesterday news country. I mean, literally, we're so forgetful so quickly. We cast things aside. And as I refer to it as, we're a very disposable society, any other country, when you think about think about what we do with our senior citizens here in the United States, we're so quick to shove them away in a home. In any other country, they are like the centerpiece. They are honored, but not in the United States. It's a whole different type of ball game there. But this is that opportunity to see and to speak to and to shake a hand of one of these guys that actually helped pave the way to what you continue to watch today.
Well, Dan, listen, we've got about a minute left with you tonight, and I wanted to say thank you again for taking the time to join us. Vic, I wanted to throw it back at you, man. Any last questions you might have for Dan?
Dan, many blessings, and keep on keeping on out there, and I can't wait to hear more from you and your different talks you're going to have around the country and your different, things you're going after.
Well, Big Nasty, Big Perm, it's always a pleasure.
And absolutely, man. I thank you again for taking the time. And as we get on down the road, I want to remind folks that Dan's got a book coming out next year. You can find out more about Dan and what he's got going on. You just go to dansevern.com. You can find him on Facebook. Just search for Dan Severn. And, well, Dan, he's a pretty accessible guy and a blast to talk to. So hit him up. Send him an email. Ask him a question. I'm sure he'll answer you. And Dan, for myself, Vic Nasty, and everybody listening, dude, thank you so much again for joining us tonight, and I'll see you in July, my man.
Take care, Big Perm. And you too there, Vic Nasty. See you.
Have a good one, brother.
Have a good night, Dan. Later, bud. Oh, yeah. The Beast, baby, is on the loose. Dan Severn, coming to Champaign, Illinois, part of the Feast with the Fighters event down at the Fluid Event Center on July 19th. And, of course, yours truly, I'll be the Toastmaster at that event. It's an honor to be on the same stage with all these guys. And, Vic, I'm a little nervous, homeboy. That's a lot of beef on the stage. I better not fuck up.
You got this shit, Perm. If not, and anybody punches you can't get no uglier. It might make you actually look better.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
You'll be all right one way or another.
Oh, yeah, my man. Well, listen. Excuse me as I cough and gag and choke and all that good stuff.
Get control of
One more time, I want to give the info on this. It's presented by MMA VIP CLUB, PATINO Diets. There's a lot of other sponsors that I'm just missing right now. Sorry, guys. It's Feast with the Fighters at the Fluid Event Center, July 19th, down in Champaign, Illinois. My buddies Jeff and Brad Grant down there at the Fluid Event Center. They do a solid job putting together events. My boy, Chris Maltzberger, thank you very much, homeboy, for asking me to be a part of this event. Not only the legends like Dan Severn, Mark Coleman, Ken Shamrock, the original UFC creator, Art Davie. You're also going to have Spencer Fisher in the house, current fighter Kenny Robertson, another former UFC fighter, Jason Reinhart. He's from Decatur, Illinois. Chris Tickle, part of the UFC Live cast. He's over in Bloomington, Illinois. Dustin Jacoby. He fights for Glory. He's out of Springfield, Illinois. I believe Dustin's going to be there. It's going to be a great night loaded with a lot of fighters and legends. And it's probably your once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Vic, to meet all these guys at one time and get a group photo with all of them. Get your VIP Diamond Package tickets now.
Hell yeah, Perm. I'm definitely excited for you, and I do recommend anybody that can get down there and see them, because this is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it's definitely, they are definitely the legends of MMA and UFC.
Absolutely, my man. We got about 3 or 4 minutes before we talk with our next guest, Heather Green. She is a country singer-songwriter from Canton, Illinois.